Now, hey, and Hank DeJong, thank you very much again for those photos. But here's the next thing: is we're building. This side is already dried. We're going to basically do the other side off camera. But when these two sides are together, and it puts a little bit of a curve in the fuselage, what you'll notice is it really adds a lot of strength, and it's free strength. You're not adding any material or any glue or anything. But by leaving it loose like that till the very end, you just get the best shot possible at really building some strength without adding weight. And we know we're gonna have a lot of aluminum up in the front of this plane, and we don't want to have anything extra, anything just going along for the ride. Now while that part is drying up, we'll give that a little extra time. I want to figure out my take apart bulkheads, and I want to make a pattern. The first thing with any of these take apart features is I want to get a really super accurate pattern, because I'm going to have to make two bulkheads. One is going to get attached to the wing, one is going to be part of the fuselage and be part of the former. And I want it to lock in behind this so that I have the maximum glue area around the whole U-shaped surface. Now if you were making a no take apart plane, a one-piece plane, you could leave out the second bulkhead and just glue the wing right up on the back of that. But for us, we need to have two, and they had better be accurate. These had better be exactly right. And the most important thing is that I make sure I have every angle 90 degrees here, every dimension. In other words, at the top and at the bottom exactly the same. Otherwise I'm going to be building angles into the fuselage sides, but this is going to set my fuselage sides at 90 degrees. Now even during making the pattern, it's easy to get these off. See, that one's off just a tad. But I'll make up for that when I make the real part. I know this needs to be trued up. It's a little bit of a parallelogram because I made it out of a piece of scrap. But still, to check it every step of the way for 90 degrees. And here's where I can make just very small corrections to the 1/8 inch plywood. Making sure everything is 90 degrees. When I cut this out on a saw, I'll leave the line on and then just do a nice tight fit by dressing it off with a sanding block. Now always with these parts, and I try to get just a little bit of an edge on there. They've left the pen line on. They're just a tad oversized. Now I want to just, with a sanding block, just dress this off until this is a really nice tight fit. And here's the worst thing that can happen, is when you cut this with the saw, you've actually cut the dimension that you want. Then what happens when you dress this off, it's now undersized. So if I leave that amount on there where the saw cut it, now I can just take just enough off that I've got that nice snug press fit. And I'm not going to build up a big glob of glue in there that's not going to hold anything. And the same way, anytime you want to get nice tight fits. Tight fits are really worth all the time and energy you put into them, because you're not filling up big valleys with glue, which is heavy. It's a lot heavier than wood. Plus you're getting a lot more strength without the extra weight. And as I make that line disappear, eventually that's going to just fit right in there nice and tight. I'll be able to hold the whole part by the former when I'm done. And what I wanted to make sure is, and it's a good way to ensure that you're not building something a little twisted, that's good. Now this part is one of is going to carry the load of the whole wing. It's going to transfer the torque from the engine to the wing. So that part I want straight, I want even, and I want that fit to be perfect. So even if I don't glue it, that's the kind of fit I want on all of the parts that are going to be structural parts. Now I'm going to take this out. Again, double check everything 90 degrees, because now I have to make a mirror image of this part, the part that's going to hold a wing in place. Now as I go along, every part that I make that'll be repeatable, I'm going to put, and I have, of course, going to use this from time to time. This will now be one of the patterns. We pretty much do that with all the planes we have. And so if the time comes that we want to make an accurate set of plans, we have all of the real patterns, not imaginary patterns. Now you can see what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to account for about a 1/16 of an inch of thickness. So I'm going to make a little dot on each side, make sure I have a parallel line, which will be my center line, then transfer this part out with a 1/16 of an inch on each side, and that'll be the bulkhead part that'll actually go against the wing. Now so far this part has really exceeded my expectations, and it really looks like we're going to have the bones of a fuselage here very soon. Now if you keep in mind, every time you make one of these dimensional changes, you keep everything at complete 90 degrees and double check it. You wind up with a real good chance that that fuselage is going to be straight, parallel, and give you a lot less headaches when it comes to trimming out the plane. Now that's going to be a continuation of our center line, and I just need to lay this out with this piece, the thickness of the 16th plywood, and I'll have both of the bulkheads ready to make up. Okay, now we know that piece fits in. That's about as nice and tight a fit as we're going to get. We actually can pick the part up by that. We have the bulkhead and the final fit, so it's almost a press fit. And because it's going to have to attach to the fuselage sides eventually, I'd like to have that a nice tight fit too. And we're on center line. Now the only problem is we're running out of tape. We're near the end, or right at the end of this DVD. So what I want to do